Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. UJ Management, a special welcome to our Deputy Chair of Council, Dr. Ndema, all protocol observed. I'm Prof. Roelien Brink from the Department of Applied Information Systems, School of Consumer Intelligence and Information Systems in the College of Business and Economics, and I will be your MC for tonight. Before we start with the program, just the following house rules. All delegates, please mute yourself to allow the speakers maximum bandwidth. Please use the chat box to post your questions, as our facilitator will pose the questions to the panel members during the panel question and answer session. The program for tonight is as follows. Opening and welcome address by Dr. Stella Bvuma, address by the President of Convocation, Prof. Boitumelo Diale, address by the Director of School of Consumer Intelligence and Information Systems, Prof. Marcy Mpingangira. I will then read the short bios of the two speakers for tonight and introduce our guest speakers to you. Thereafter, we will have a panel question and answer facilitated by Dr. Stella Bvuma. And lastly, we will close the night with a vote of thanks by Mr. Nell Ledwaba. Without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our Head of Department of Applied Information Systems, Dr. Stella Bvuma. Dr. Bvuma, over to you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Brink, and good evening to everyone. It's such an honor to welcome all of you. Thank you for taking a keen interest and participation into this very special, interesting program and topic that we're having today. I'm confident that you will all feel enriched with knowledge after the completion of this event. We all know cybersecurity, data privacy, it's something that is a thorn in the flesh for many organizations and for us as individuals who are participating in the digital space. So thank you very much. Welcome to all of you once again to this session, and I hope that you will all have a great time. Thanks, Prof.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bvuma, for the welcoming. Our next speaker is now our President of Convocation, Prof. Boitumelo Diale. She is also the Vice Dean Teaching and Learning. Prof. Diale, over to you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Brink, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to everybody who's here. A warm welcome to our Vice Chair of the Council. It gives me a great pleasure to really address you briefly as the President of the Convocation and to firstly congratulate actually Dr. Bvuma and her department in terms of the work they are doing in this space. It is really a great pleasure that they are one of the departments that we can, as the alumni, as the Convocation, rely on to ensure that our alumni are actively involved at the University of Johannesburg. We are at that stage of the Convocation as the UJ executive, where we are almost at the end of our term of office. Most of you will be aware that there is a call for voting already that is open for the new executive of the Convocation. Please use your rights to vote. We have excellent candidates that have actually given themselves up to serve this community. We want to plead with you to actually exercise that right you have as a convocant and as an alumni to vote. But in addition, just to give a brief of where we are as the executive that is going out of the Convocation, we have in the 3 years that we've journeyed, we started with a bump because we started when actually when COVID-19 started. and our plans that we had that were so super sort of fell on the ground. However, we didn't allow that to go forever. We just decided that we are going to bounce back, and indeed we did bounce back. We have had several occasions that we've held, one of them being to launch this particular affinity group, and we are excited that the affinity group is active and going forward. So we actually are excited and congratulating you, colleagues. In addition, why the alumni? Why are you important to us? You are important as the alumni of the University of Johannesburg because it is through you, through your voice, that we can continue to ensure that the University of Johannesburg is on the national map, but also on the international map as a university of choice. So it is through the work that you do in industry that we can feed back to our own graduates, that we depend on you to really take the hand and mentor our graduates that are completing with us. And we are looking forward to join hands with you as the industry in holding hands with us. Finally, I want to say to you, watch the space. We are looking forward to really open our first ever alumni house at the University of Johannesburg. And we are excited that this project is going to be a space where we all can come together and share ideas, relax, have a good glass of wine also. I made sure, Prof. Roelien, that we must have some little bar there to have a good glass of wine, whilst we share on how to take the generation that comes after us forward. And I want to ask you to please, if you are a gym fanatic, instead of paying Vision Active as an alumni, the alumni of the University of Johannesburg has the opportunity to join one of our gym, to join our gym actually at the UJ, and you can go to any of the 4 campuses of the UJ at a very reasonable price with other package systems that are there. For instance, we will have tickets to our events such as our rugby matches, our sports matches, our arts gallery activities that we have. So go to our website at the alumni, and see what we have for you as a package of the alumni of the University of Johannesburg. We really are looking forward to dance with you in the coming years to come as you contribute positively to the University of Johannesburg. Thank you very much. Prof. Roelien, it is a pleasure for me to be here with you, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Diale. I'm really looking forward to that house and that glass of wine. It is now my pleasure to hand over to Prof. Marcy Mpingangira, our Director of School of Consumer Intelligence and Information Systems, for her address. Prof. Marcy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Professor Brink. And well done to Dr. Stella Bvuma and the Department of Applied Information Systems, the team there in the School of Consumer Intelligence and Information Systems. Well done as well to UJ Alumni for organizing this evening's event. Now, with permeation of technology in every aspect of life, and of course, every discipline of study, privacy and cybersecurity are truly matters of universal interest and concern. Many of us may be wearing or carrying devices that contain and are capable of transmitting very personal information. Yes, I'm talking about the smartwatch that you may be wearing. It is likely capable of giving us more information about your health than you may want us to know. So in my recent research, marketing, my recent research on shopping apps, I was alarmed to learn of real-life tests of shopping apps, which shows that 80% of the shopping apps that people use actually fail to receive a passing privacy and security grade because they do not properly secure the communication that goes on there, especially communication of sensitive data. And this is likely to also be the case when you analyze any app, be it in health, be it in teaching and learning, etc. So when you look at developments in the modern age powered by AI, the future capabilities of the devices that we have made part of our everyday life are actually only an imagination away. So underlying the developments in the cyberspace are issues of privacy and security, and these are evolving issues. If privacy and security are matters of risk concern, it means that consumers would demand more of this. We can also expect regulators to also up their game in terms of their demands. So in order for us to be successful in the modern business age, we need to make sure that we have in place measures to mitigate privacy and security risks. Privacy and security risks are matters of survival and success in the modern age. So it is with this in mind that the School of Consumer Intelligence and Information Systems welcomes this evening's event, this evening's talk on the future of data, privacy, and cybersecurity. A special welcome to our guest speakers, Ms. Naidoo and Advocate Khorommbi for taking the time to engage with us this evening on this very important topic. I very much look forward to the addresses that the two ladies will give us and the discussions that will follow. Thank you very much. Over to you, Program Director.
Thank you so much, Prof. Marcy, for your address. Let me introduce you now to our two speakers of tonight. Our first speaker is Natalie Naidoo. She is currently a senior consultant in the information security team at TransUnion Africa, which is the largest credit bureau in South Africa. She is responsible for the governance, risk and compliance portfolio, information security awareness, and part of the team that handles vulnerability management for the whole of Africa. Not only does Natalie support the African region, but she is also a member of TransUnion's Global Information Security Shared Services team, which provides security support to all TransUnion's international regions. Our keynote speaker for tonight is Advocate Lufuno T Khorommbi. She is a cyber law professional, a highly skilled knowledge worker, and an award-winning thought leader who founded Orizur Consulting Enterprise. Orizur is a cyber law consultancy that specializes in data privacy, cybersecurity governance, and ICT contract management. Advocate Lufuno's mission is to promote education and advocate for cybersecurity culture by influencing effective implementation of the digital policy within the African Union. Her principal aim is to see Africa participating meaningfully in the digital economy, while promoting digital human rights within a compliant cyber secure environment. I will now hand over to Ms. Natalie Naidoo for her presentation. Natalie, over to you.
Thank you, Prof. Brink. Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Naidoo, and I am a senior consultant in the information security team at TransUnion Africa. I joined TransUnion 3 years ago and have been exposed to various aspects of security. My team and I are responsible for the security posture for the African region. We handle vulnerability management, which includes anything from patching systems to preventing it from being exploited. Governance, risk, and compliance, which includes activities such as company security certifications. I also work with our global third-party risk management team to understand the security posture of our business partners. My journey into the security industry began when I was 22. I was quite nervous and uncertain if I made the right choice. I was entering a male-dominated industry as a novice. It was quite daunting to work with people who had much more experience than I did. I remember burning the midnight oil, reading to build up more knowledge on cybersecurity. I learned early in my career that the security industry was not going to be a walk in the park, nor a 9-to-5 job. The industry is fast-paced and at times can be quite overwhelming. You often experience unfamiliar situations due to the ever-changing IT landscape. IT security is often oversimplified as someone simply trying to hack a system, but it is more than that. It involves handling stakeholders from other areas of the business who come to you for guidance, creating awareness in your organization and even to your family, and also solving complex security problems at any hour of the day. No working day is the same, as each aspect of cybersecurity comes with a new challenge. It is important to see each challenge as a learning opportunity. Women often feel intimidated to join the field as there's a stereotype that they can't keep up with the pace and pressure, or they do not have the skills and knowledge required. It can be quite overwhelming initially, so having a mentor can provide you the support as you transition and build your career. They can steer you in the right direction. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's how we learn. I myself had the opportunity to work with understanding mentors and managers throughout my career who have helped me build my confidence and supported me throughout my journey. I would not be where I am today without their leadership. This is why it is so important to build a network of people that can support you throughout your journey. So, what's coming next for cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is unlikely to slow down anytime soon. There are new threats every day, as attackers are always coming up with new methods to try and break into a system. Security companies are looking at using new methods to create tools to combat cyber threats. Artificial intelligence is one of the most promising methods being considered to help combat these new threats as and when they arise. So, if you do have a passion for cybersecurity, now would be the best time to join, as there's a lot of promising opportunities to change the traditional way in which we approach cybersecurity. Joining this industry has truly been rewarding, and I'm looking forward to the next challenge. For the students, new graduates, and anyone else looking to pursue a career in cybersecurity, I wish you good luck, and I hope to meet you as a client or colleague side by side as we tackle the digital era of the future. I'd like to thank UJ for the opportunity to engage with you today, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie, for the presentation. It's really an honor to see how you grow from a student to alumnus. It is now my honor and pleasure to hand over to our keynote speaker for the night, Advocate Lufuno. Advocate Lufuno, over to you.
Thank you, Prof. I hope the lightning is better now. Thank you for the invitation to address you. I will be talking on the future of data privacy and cybersecurity. I did tell Professor Dube that what I will be doing today is just a drop in an ocean. We will need more sessions to do more discussions around this. So that will be the agenda for the day. Data privacy or information privacy is the protection of personal data from those who should not have access to it, and the ability of individuals to determine or access their personal information. So I have put that in bold, the ability of individuals, because the power of whether our data is protected or not, it's on us, not necessarily the service providers, as we would like to believe. It is a branch of data security which governs how personally identifiable data, because there's data that you might not be, it's not every data that is personally identifiable. So these data need to be processed in a manner that meets regulatory obligations. So with us, we have POPIA. It ensures that there are appropriate controls to regulate or authenticate access to data. Like if somebody, I believe Elia spoke about the apps. So if you go to your bank app, if you are not who you are supposed to be, then the authentication will fail you. Importantly, it is a universal and it is a constitutional fundamental human right. In our Constitution, it is there in Section 14, the Bill of Rights. So it is widely protected. So its protection becomes ultimate importance. Obviously, no right is unlimited, but if it has to be compromised, it must be for lawful reasons. Like if they are investigating somebody for criminal activities, obviously we will share information, but we cannot just share willy-nilly. So data protection is an evolving area of the law that contains the safeguards of people's fundamental human rights in connection with data privacy. It is considered the force behind the human right to privacy. Therefore, it is not only the legal necessity, but also imperative to protecting and maintaining business reputation, because obviously if we know that our data is not necessarily secure, we might be skeptical to be associating with such an organization. Data security is the defense of digital information against insider and external malicious and or accidental threats, because on the part of the insider attack, we have malicious attackers and we also have the ones that are just ignorant. They click anything that comes because they are not cyber aware or they don't have the cyber security culture. So these are the focus areas that we look at in the cybersecurity space to ensure that we achieve our governance, risk, and compliance. So I just did some short snippets in terms of the questions because of the time limits that I have. So in data security, as I said, it's our defense. So it means we need to block anything that's not supposed to be accessing our infrastructure or the system, either the app or the system like your payment system. So within this context, we need to verify everything that happens in our cyber environment. The data privacy is who has access to personally identifiable information, and why is the important question to ask. Somebody might maybe have access, but why are they accessing it, whether it's legal or illegal. So access control here is very important, and for us to have least privileges, because in some organizations, when you get there, it's like everybody from top to bottom has access to everything, which is not necessarily the best practice. Data protection, how can we ensure that data is protected, will be one of the questions that we should ask as an organization. So compliance to data protection policies would be one of the things, will be of the reasons why we are asking that question. Implementation of effective security safeguards will be one of the reasons why we are asking that question. And there is a term that is being used now, which is called the observability, which is beyond monitoring to provide the intelligence that we need and remediation across systems, contributing also to the regulatory compliance, because when we just have a monitoring system, it might just tell us that something might be wrong with the system, but not necessarily taking us where something is wrong, or actually remediating whatever is wrong with our cyber environment. So I will quickly run through this. The whole intention of just listing some of the existing legal instruments was just to show that the human right to privacy, amongst others, has been recognized for a long time, and at a point the UN in 1948 had adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which I believe most countries, when they now develop their own either regional or local laws, they are doing that on the basis of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We do have the African Charter of Human Rights and People's Rights, and we also even have a court where if our rights are being violated, this court should actually be there to ensure that there is justice. We have the European Convention of the Human Rights, which was done in 1953 after the UN Declaration of Human Rights, and they also added a charter that will strengthen the European Convention of Human Rights, and then we have our own constitution, and we have a number of acts that are actually talking to the right of privacy, and I didn't list everything, but we will know that the ECT Act had issues around consumer protection. Some of the privacy sections are now under POPIA. Then we have your Consumer Protection Act, you have your PAIA, you have your Film and Publication Board Amendment Act, which the Amendment Act just came into effect and is also affecting our rights, protecting our rights online, social media, and all that. So if I'm being harassed, you also have the Protection from Harassment Act. So there has been a lot, according to me, around the legal instruments that shows that data privacy is something that everybody recognizes, even though maybe after writing the laws, we are not necessarily seeing effective implementation in that regard. So we do have the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime, which was adopted 2001, was effective in 2004. As South Africa, we are a signatory to this convention, and a number of countries are a signatory to this convention, and we can say it's a de facto standard at the moment. We do have the ISO standard 27000. Bigger companies will normally, to prove that actually they are serious about cybersecurity, they will then go for certification for ISO 27001. Then we have the GDPR that we are all aware of, and then we have the American framework, which is also a framework that anybody can use. The way they make their information available, it assists even developing countries to just go cut and paste and then customize to what we require. And then we have the Malabo Convention, which is our own in Africa, but it's problematic because the member states are not signing. So it is still not effective since 2014. So maybe it shows us how much we take serious cybersecurity as a continent. We have the CCPA, which is in California, and at the moment, we can say when we talk in terms of data privacy within this context, it is leading in the US. They have the HIPAA as well in the US, which is more concerned about the health information of the American citizens or anyone who can be there. And then we see that we can use credit cards and stuff like that. So the PCI DSS is actually the standard that makes sure that if you are a bank or anybody that does transaction online, you are PCI DSS compliant. So it's one of those things that when we go online, we should actually check if this site has this certification. If they don't have it, then maybe it's time to leave their site. So UN does not necessarily have the cybercrime convention or treaty or cybersecurity treaty as yet, but there is one en route coming, adopted by resolution in 2019 during the General Assembly. So that is a positive from the UN side. I think now it will be supporting the universal convention that we spoke about earlier, and the American now under the Biden, is it Biden or Biden administration, they have prioritized cybersecurity and data privacy, and a lot of investment has been put there. So there is an act underway, and we are hoping that the act will be approved this year. As I say, we are hoping industry because in the US it's unlike EU where most of the things are harmonized. There it was a lot of silos and fragmented. So with this one, I think we will then have a more harmonized environment in the US. Like us with the Malabo Convention, which we are unfortunately not implementing. So I did ask around from my colleagues, and this slide comes from one of my mentors. The previous speaker earlier was speaking about mentoring. So he just sent me a list of stuff, so I was able to create this slide. So there are 5 things that going forward, this is what's going to be important. The infrastructure. Most people have adopted the cloud environment without necessarily having defined any minimum required security standards according to their own environment, because in the cybersecurity space, you can never have a one-size-fits-all. So every organization needs to be able to define their own minimum required security standards according to the available laws, and then make sure that they are able to comply. So obviously we can't go and buy things off the shelf if we really need to be compliant, and the infrastructure is one of the important parts. When we talk about the pillars of cybersecurity is people, processes, and technology. So technology is there. So if one of these pillars is broken, then the whole thing is broken. So adopting a cloud environment doesn't relinquish control and accountability, and it is there in POPIA and GDPR. The fact that I've put my everything on managed services does not mean that I'm no longer accountable. So your software as a service, whether a business is hosting critical workloads in the public cloud or not, the employees are using these applications, e.g. your Google Workplace, your DocuSign, your Dropbox. Most of us are happily using these workloads without necessarily embedding anything as it relates to security. So as a result, important security and compliant intense data are mostly or probably making their way to public cloud without the organization key stakeholders knowing about it. So the important question we should ask is how to protect corporate data in this environment where we can control what comes in. Issues of devices. BYOD is one of the things that it's a growing trend, and it has a lot of vulnerabilities on its own, because I am bringing my own device, which has nothing to do with the organization network, and then I'm accessing the network of the organization with a private device that the system within the organization might not be able to detect. Importantly, we use our own devices as tools of trade. So it means my device might have more organizational information than what really needs to be there, and it's a serious vulnerability in a sense, because if I lose my personal device, it's not just a phone that I will go and get an insurance, but there is a lot that would have been lost with that device. So the important question to ask is how to protect corporate data within this BYOD environment. It's not wrong to have a BYOD environment, but it cannot just be an environment that is not controlled. issues of identity. There has been increase in identity theft. Major cybersecurity reports that we look at, even the most data breaches that happened in South Africa, some recent, the issue was identity theft. So despite all the investment organization making security and threat mitigation, identity continue to be compromised. So the important question to ask here is how to ensure that there is identity protection. And identity, obviously, in most cases, will be belonging to people. So we need to make sure, as I said, there are 3 pillars of cybersecurity, and people is one of the pillars. So if we neglect this pillar, then we are leaving an open door. The last issue to consider is response. The potency and frequency of today's cyber threats requires security strategy to build on an assumption of compromise, not to make assumptions that we are so secured. A risk-based approach is critical to ensure the process of protecting, detecting, responding to a breach. It is a process, not an event, because most of the time we think that if this thing happened, then it's an event, then we go home. But it's a continuous day-to-day something that we need to do. So that's why in our day-to-day life generally, because cybersecurity culture must actually start with me at home so that I take the right culture at work. So the important question to ask is how to respond better to ongoing threats. What do I see as a future of data privacy and cybersecurity? I put 5 things. Stringent regulatory environment. Prof. Marcy, I think she did mention that in her speech. It is estimated that by the end of 2023, which is next year, 65% of the world population will have their personal data covered under a data privacy regulation, which was at 10% in 2019. So I'm just highlighting this to say that between 2019 and 2023, we would have grown by, I think it's 50%. GDPR has indirectly encouraged organizations to develop and improve their own cybersecurity measures to limit the risk of data breaches. And so we are going to be seeing increase in terms of regulatory prescripts that will be coming out of different environments, internationally, regionally, and locally. Harmonization of regulatory environment. I want to believe that we'll see more regions, more nations working together. And as I said, the UN is busy working on the cyber crime treaty. So those are just the signs to show that we are going to see more politically aligned efforts as it relates to the harmonization of the regulatory environment. So the GDPR is proving to be like your de facto standard. So we already have something that, a baseline that anybody can work with. So I can see us using this GDPR to harmonize the environment in across the globe. Improved cybersecurity environment drive by organizations to increase collaboration and partnership amongst role players to share resources and insights is what I see happening, leading, which will lead to a risk-based and globalized strategy. I had to use my mother tongue there because I didn't have an English word, but mainly because Moima Woga in my mother tongue culture will not be sustainable. So, those silos, like I'm in my little corner, it's not going to work. So I can see that from the role players, we will be seeing more of collaboration and partnerships. Trust-driven transactional environment. As consumers, either as a business B2B or B2C, we are going to be the one that drives the digital enforcement of our digital rights by ensuring that we make decisions that make the service providers to respect our digital rights. Security by design, not checklist. The reason why we have all those laws that I've shown, but we still have high level of this cyber attack. South Africa is rated third in the world. It is because of the checklist. So if we have the cyber security by design, I believe we're going to go far. Open chain is an open source software supply chain management standard that embeds security by design. I am an open source advocate, so that's why I might have been biased, but as far as I understand, we don't have any other ISO standard that actually talks about to the software development environment that ensures that you achieve security from design to implementation. Recommendations, what we should start doing. So I also asked one of my mentors on LinkedIn to say, what should I say? And she's like, you must leave them with something to do afterwards. So then I created something in this regard. Strategic planning. We do go to strategic planning and talk about anything else but cybersecurity. So we do need to have it embedded as part of our corporate strategy, not as a by the way. And we need to have effective cybersecurity governance framework. So if we don't have it, first we need to start by putting it in our corporate governance strategy. So obviously it's steps that we can take. They are within our control. We need to establish a GRC program. GRC as in governance, risk and compliance is now a more of a integrated environment than the integrated way of doing things, and it helps a lot with compliance amongst other things. Security by design must be embedded. So one of the things that organizations must have is to define what are our minimum security requirements, so that even if a vendor comes in and say we are selling this, if you don't even know what are your requirements are, then obviously whatever comes goes. Managing risk, we have to adopt your zero trust and observability strategies, building policies into systems that regulates user conduct, so that if the user will be clicking on that link, which is getting all of us into trouble, that is not supposed to be clicked, the system will actually have kicked that particular message from, prevented it from coming into our system. Establish a cybersecurity education program to equip the first line of defense, which is the people. So if in the three pillars of cybersecurity, we're doing processes and technologies and people are like, we don't have the budget, then everything else that we are doing is just going to come to naught. Conduct audit to ensure access control policies are effective. We might have papers that have been signed, but do they really work? So we do need to do audit on our environment, particularly the governance part, and see that whatever policies we have put in place are still relevant, still capable of helping us protect our environment. A harmonized cybersecurity environment. We are likely to see more and more organizations harmonizing the three pillars, as I said, because what has been happening in most cases, you will see a lot investment on technology and some investment on processes and very little, if any, investment on people. The three focus areas we spoke about earlier, so it's with the focus areas and the three pillars, it's not either or. It's all of them together intertwined. We need to do cybersecurity culture to ensure that we are able to maintain our cyber environment. So if we have built in secured processes, everything is okay. But if we are not having the culture, then we won't be able to maintain it. And then this is the GRC that I was talking about. This is done by Amazon, so I had put it up there, so it's really not my creation, but it really makes you see your whole environment in one, and everybody is able to input into what the other is doing. So if something is broken here and it needs to be fixed there, we are all connected. So in my view, I will recommend that we build this.
Advocate Lufuno, sorry to interrupt. I think we need to wrap up. If you can wrap up for us.
Okay. I think that, how many minutes do I have to wrap up again?
2, maximum 2.
Okay. In 2 minutes, vulnerability assessments are important, so we need to do them continually, so not like by the way. And then the privacy impact assessments are actually required by the POPIA regulations, and they are also required by the GDPR. One is to ensure that we are always we are able to deal with all vulnerabilities, and one is to ensure that before we buy any infrastructure, any system, we have actually done the privacy impact assessment to be able to define the minimum requirements I've spoken about, and security safeguards and vendor management. So if somebody sells us this thing and they go and we are hacked, it is our problem, not the vendor. So we need to make sure that we have embedded contract management as part of effective sourcing strategy, because things go wrong at the time when we decide to buy something. I will skip that. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Advocate Lufuno, for the presentation. I think without further ado, will hand over to Dr. Bvuma, who will facilitate the panel questions and answer session for us. Dr. Bvuma, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Prof, and thanks to my panelists. I'm very excited. I can see that we need massive time for this very interesting topic, but without wasting time, I'm just going to hit a few questions, because I would want to take questions from the attendees. I'll have a question to Natalie. Because Advocate spoke about cloud and infrastructure and also mentioned Amazon. And we know that with organization, moving a bulk of their data to the cloud, platforms like your AWS, that's your Amazon, are at risk of falling prey to ransomware attacks. And, according to the cybersecurity ventures, they mentioned that over the last few years, ransomware has emerged as one of the biggest cybersecurity threats to enterprises, and that a typical business will fall victim to ransomware. And I think we've seen quite a lot of the cyber attacks in the space, even had our own fair share in the country. So I wanted to know, Melanie, what is your opinion on cloud security?
I do believe that cloud security is a good way to go, considering how advanced the ransomware attacks are these days and how smart these attackers are. So I do believe that cloud security is probably the best route for large organizations or even small organizations to start using and to start migrating there. One of the key things, though, with that is to also educate your team in terms of how this migration will take place, so that during that migration, there's no ransomware attack or a possible breach.
Thanks, Mel. Maybe just to follow on that, on the cyber attacks, because they have several negative effects, particularly that when an attack is carried out, it can lead to various knocks of an organization, particularly on the data breaches, resulting in data loss or data manipulation. Even more scarier, organization can incur, financial losses. customers may get also, trust issues around the organization, and there are also reputational damage. So can you tell us what are the common security attacks, that are used against people, and how do we prevent cyber attacks?
So in fact, one of the most common cybersecurity attacks that an organization would face is a phishing attempt. It's usually sent through an email, an SMS, sent through to a number of people where they ask you to please click this link and you have to enter some information that's actually confidential. That's probably one of the worst things you can do, is to click the link when you've been told you've won the lotto. It's definitely not true. And also another thing I've noticed that has been a big problem is we receive phone calls from people pretending to be agents and wanting to, again, while we're on the winning the lotto story, to deposit the money into their banks. And sometimes people get so excited that they just want to give their bank details and their card numbers, and that's also not the best thing to do. For situations like that, I'd always advise people to, take a deep breath and think, did you really buy that lotto ticket? And at the end of the day, it's not right to share that confidential information via an email or via a phone call. All organizations have their secured platform as to how they will communicate to their clients.
Thanks, Mel. That's interesting. I just want to go to advocate, because you touched on the POPIA Act. We all are very fascinated with this new law. What I want to find out, advocate, is does this change to the law mean that the distribution of images of people is regarded as processing of personal information in terms of the Act? And also, does the Act prohibit, the distribution of personal information, including images of your friends, your own children, without their consent? For example, on social media, and I have a butterfly on social media. So what does POPIA, say there? Do you relinquish your rights to privacy if you are on social media?
Interesting, right? Before I go there, I just want to emphasize one thing on the question you asked earlier in terms of the common attacks. The center of everything is cybersecurity culture. Without the culture, it's not going to really help us. So I think we really need to, all of us, just go out there and advocate for this culture, because without it, honestly, it won't matter what we do. In terms of social media, I think you saw there that I've listed a number of acts. The Film and Publication Board Amendment Act is actually very tough on this one, and the number of years people will spend in jail for sharing people's information, and the fines, like I think the highest is about 800,000 rand. So the issue is, again, coming back to the issue of culture, and I said earlier that we are the ones who have the power to protect or to relinquish our rights, if I were to put it like that. So the moment I put something on social media, it's no longer private. So what I always say when I do cybersecurity awareness, I think it's going to start now in October. Please, we must stop living our lives online. Everything you are eating, soup, is there online. You went, it is there online. It's even if you bought a car, is there online. The next thing you're hijacked and you're complaining, but you did tell the criminals that you bought a car and this is where you are going, and you went where you are going, you come back, your house is empty because you told the criminal to say, I'm not gonna be at home, so you can come and rob my house. So it's the thing is, in my considered view, we are the ones who are just willingly giving us out our information. I don't think anybody is interested to know what I ate, which car I drive, the school, we even put our children in danger because we see them being posted with those, what do you call those? Is it a logo for school, like the one for UJ, that you take them to this most expensive school? It's fine, you can afford the most expensive school, but what happens when now the child is kidnapped? And you are the reason why the child is kidnapped. So I am saying that data privacy is first and foremost our responsibility before anybody else. So I need to respect my rights first before I expect anybody else to respect my right. Because if I post it online, we will forward. And after forwarding, you cannot now say my privacy, but we found it online.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm gonna take a quick one because I also want to go up and close and personal with you ladies because it's Ladies Month, and I would want my female students to also have an opportunity to get to know how to get into the career. But I wanted to take a question from the chat, and John is asking, advocate, that cybersecurity is a developing concept in South Africa. And he's asking, do we have approved legal framework in South Africa? Which one can we rely on, particularly the banking industry? And he's talking here, focusing on Capitec as the most recent case study that we can rely on.
Capitec is bound by POPIA, amongst other things. And earlier I did show you the standards that they need to be compliant with. And they governed, I think, is FSCA, Financial Services Regulator, but you know I'm not in the financial space, but it's there. So if obviously I have challenges with them and your national credit regulator, it will depend on what is the issue. And you have your National Consumer Commission as well, the NCC. So under the NCC, they have different ombuds in terms of who can tackle what. So the issue then comes with the skill for people to actually investigate the case and actually hand you an appropriate verdict for whatever your challenge is. So the challenge that we are currently having in South Africa is not the law, but the skills to implement the law. The law is there because, as I said, when I was listing all those laws, I just wanted us to see that the law, even if we say we don't improve in the next 5 years, I'm not saying we must not improve, but we have good enough space to actually enforce what's available. But if you go to the police and say, there's a credit card fraud, you will be going to the police every day because it takes that long for them to open a case. So what I can say is that when somebody has an issue like this, it's better to report it with the information regulator because they are the ones who will mostly understand these issues, and they can then direct the person to go to another enforcement agency if they cannot deal with the matter. But they do have a division there, an enforcement division that actually can assist me as a data subject.
Thank you very much. I'm worried about the time. The questions are flowing. So this one is for you, Natalie. And they are saying that this is anonymous. He's saying that in recent times, we see many companies offering free services for credit reports. How do we ensure that these organizations are authentic? Previously, we only knew about TransUnion. Oh, that's Peterson, actually put a signature on it. Natalie?
So in South Africa, there are 4 major credit bureaus: TransUnion, Experian, CompuScan, and XDS. So from each of these credit bureaus, someone can obtain the credit report for free. Now, out there are a lot of companies who are trying to act as if they can provide these reports. And if this is not a well-known company, like one of the 4 credit bureaus or any other of the smaller credit bureaus in South Africa, I recommend that you do not continue providing them with any more information on you. Another way for you to get your credit report is actually through your banks. All the South African banks make use of the credit bureaus to obtain your credit score. So if you go into your app, or if you have a banking app or onto internet banking, you'll be able to see your credit score then and there.
Thanks very much. I'm not going to be able to take all the questions, but I do promise that if you do contact us in the department, we will be able to respond to them and also give you guidance in terms of other sessions that we're going to run regarding this topic. It's really a hot topic. But let me do justice to my female young ladies out there. And I want to get a little bit up close and personal with my last question. You know, there's a young lady out there who's inspired to take the career either in cybersecurity or either in data privacy in this particular space. Where do they start? And what are the expectations from the industry? I know, you know, Natalie, you are our alumni in the department. So you started by studying with us, but just break it down. Particularly, I think, advocate, it would also be interesting to know how did you get into this IT space as an advocate. So can you just, any one of you can take the question, and let's maybe if we can keep it short because of time.
So I'll go first. So when I started off in the security industry, I started off with a graduate program, which allowed me to have a chance to work with different types of information security teams, cybersecurity teams, a lot of the technical information security architecture teams as well. And that graduate program was a good building platform for myself. And it helped me to determine which aspect of security that I actually wanted to go in. And that's how I continued my journey in security. So definitely, if you're coming into the industry, start off with a graduate program that can expose you to as many components of security as possible. And from there, you'll be able to see which direction you'd like to go.
Fantastic. Advocate?
Thank you. I hope you can hear me because I'm kind of struggling to hear anyone. First, I wanted to ask Dr. Bvuma if we can, the ones who ask their questions there and then we won't be able to answer now, they can, if it's possible, leave their email addresses and then we can do the answers and they can be posted back. My story is interesting and I don't know how to shorten it. I did LLB at the University of Venda, and I believe there are people who have been invited from the University of Venda to attend here. And the then minister, late Matsepe Kasapuri, she wanted to train the law graduates in the IT law space. So that's how it all started with me. I came as an intern, but when I went to school, I really wanted to do criminal law. And then when I came for the internship, it's like, wow, okay, so there's something like this. So most of the things I learned on the job, and then I did my master's, obviously in information technology law, to show how excited I am. And I'm also doing my PhD in cybersecurity. So the issue is there is no course in law that is IT law. So you do your normal LLB, but in universities like your UJ, I hope I'm not talking things I don't understand, but I'm very sure of UP and VETS. You can take what we call electives, which is like your broadcasting law, your telecoms, and all that. At least it gives you a background at your LLB level. But as a course, a main for LLB, it's not there. So like your Univen, obviously, I believe they still have the old LLB. So you can either, if you are coming from Limpopo, you can join an internship. You can join organizations like your MTN, because then you learn on the job and you are working with the legal divisions there that are in the industry. Or you can find a mentor. You can go online and just do, there are a number of free courses, maybe on cybersecurity or something like that, whatever it is that you want to do in the IT space. I did 2 courses with the UNISA information security, so I can really know this thing well. I did CIO course with VET, so you need to be committed to actually be here because it's not necessarily something that flows from our LLB. It's something that you need to pursue and invest on it, time, money, sweat and tears. You're not running around the world.
Absolutely. I'm sure the students, if they've joined.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the students, if they've joined, they can relate to the sweat and tears and all of that. But I just want to wrap it with a question with Anonymous, who's asking, do we have any qualifications related to cybersecurity at UJ? Yes, we do. I'll speak on the Department of Applied Information Systems. We do offer, from the business IT side, where we look at technology as an enabler. So within some of our courses, in particular in the new BCom information systems that we started offering this year, we have the cybersecurity element in it, but not a one qualification focusing on cybersecurity. But one of the things that the ladies touched on, which is also very important, and I want to emphasize that, is the issue of upskilling and reskilling. And I think that's another element that we also do in the university with various short learning programs that you can go for to ensure that you are upskilling and you are also reskilling in that space. And by the way, the Department of AIS is one of the departments where we have trained and been accredited by Amazon Cloud Services in the country. So we do have academics that were, certified by AWS to train in those spaces. But just to wrap it, thank you very much, ladies. I think we will never have enough time. Advocate, you did make your confession in the beginning that we will need more sessions like this. I just want to wrap it up to say, what's hot currently in the IT and application space is we see a lot of building in the issue of building systems that empower users to have some degree of control over their data. Consent means offering data subjects real choice and control. And the other issue is genuine consent should put data subjects in charge, and you build trust and engagement and enhance your reputation. So I guess it requires IT systems, organizations that are working with IT systems, to have clear data flows, a single view of a customer, and that means by, way of a customer where can hit one button to opt out and also to be forgotten. Much of this, of course, require Prof. Brink as little user intervention as possible. And I know with your diploma students in IT project, you look at this in one of the subject that we do, be timely and inform the user when their request is actually actioned. And in summary, this will be the basic feature of applications and IT systems of the future. The architect that Advocate spoke about of the 4th industrial revolution and the 5th industrial revolution will need to embrace these norms and be enablers of compliance to organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, it was really interesting to facilitate this session. And of course, we don't have enough time. And I do ask to apologize that we're running over time. And I'm going to hand over to Professor Brink and thank my panelists for such insightful information. So do look out, like our social media page, do look out for more sessions that we're going to offer in this space. Thank you very much. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bvuma, for facilitating this wonderful session. I need to say, wow, that was really a great discussion from powerful ladies in the industry of cybersecurity. If you would like to contact me, please contact me at rbrink@uj.ac.za if you have any further questions. But now I would like to take this opportunity to thank the alumni office who helped Dr. Dube from the Department of Applied Information Systems to arrange this successful event. Thank you for everyone who attended this event. To all our female attendants, I would like to say Happy Women's Month. But before we end and close this event, I would like to ask Mr. Nell Ledwaba, Senior Manager and Faculty Coordinator of Alumni, to do the note of thanks. Mr. Ledwaba, over to you.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Professor Brink. Of course, I must make a disclaimer because of the name or the word females, women were dominated all over. But I must make a disclaimer to say I'm a male, but for now, I'll consider to be a female because of the support of the women I'm giving tonight. Of course, I wish to thank all of our attendees that came in big numbers. A very special thanks to them. This was a very informative session, and I think we've all benefited to it. Without forgetting our most special guest online, who was the Deputy Chairperson of Council, Dr. Ndeme. Of course, we had also the presence of the Registrar, of course, Professor Kenta Berger, who was supporting of the event. Of course, yourself, Professor Brink, you've run this vehicle quite well, and we really sincerely appreciate your participation on the program. Of course, we're not going to forget the President of Convocation, Professor Diale, an outgoing one, always blessing us with her presence in our events. We are going to miss her a lot. We really thank you, Professor. We have got all these events with you behind us. Of course, most importantly, our guest speakers, Advocate Lufuno and also Ms. Natalie Naidoo, really you have unlocked our minds. Cybersecurity is a very important, interesting topic in the recent days. One cannot ignore. So I hope going forward we'll have more time and then we unpack and discuss on these issues. Of course, AIS staff, Dr. Dube, of course, the head of department, Dr. Stella Bvuma. We do have also on the program, we had Professor Marcy. Our collaboration, our relationship will continue as such, and we're hoping to host more of this kind of collaborations and panel discussions going forward. Of course, without forgetting our alumni staff, organizers always behind. I'm with them here, Taviso, Kopano, I've got Solufelo, and most importantly, our technical person behind. Without him, we wouldn't be having our online events. You know, when there is no technology, nothing will work. This is your area, you know it better. And from my side, good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stay safe and be protected.
We will.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
The University of Johannesburg, the future reimagined.